All right, hey everybody, it's Michael,
And Nick.
and this is week 8 and our 8th episode of the Codex Comics podcast. Pretty big week, some crazy stuff's happening. So I'm just going to give it to Nick first, talk about the latest Dark Knights metal tie-in, The Drown.
Okay, so the Dark Knight's Metal Drowned. Basically, you have a female Batman from Earth -11, which in positive terms is the world where all the genders are flip-flop. Basically, you can see her basically wanting revenge against the superpowered heroes of this world, and basically she takes it to the point where she eliminates all metahumans. Then she notices the Atlanteans coming up to the surface, and she has to do something about it, which causes them to fight in an epic battle. Batman then takes out the Aqua Woman with her own trident, and basically, she then augments herself with Atlantean technology to basically breathe underwater. And basically, she then becomes the drown that you see on the front cover. Um, also, not really. I don't know. It was a cool story, but it's just kind of, I don't know, kind of bland. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the issue is, I think we're just kind of getting worn out on seeing this evil Batman thing, because basically every time it's the same story. With a cool twist. And that comes into my favorite part about what these tie-ins have been so far. All the fears that Batman has that turns him into these villains, I think are very realistic. Like the idea that Batman is so terrified of like the Atlanteans and like the stuff that he doesn't know about what's underwater. I think that's a very realistic fear. That he's scared of the Atlanteans. And like I think that's actually what might be one of my favorite reasonings for his fears so far. Aside from probably when the Devastator comes out, I think that's going to be awesome. And then he starts experimenting with the Doomsday virus, which I think is a really cool way to tie it back to the Doomsday virus in like the Superman New 52 crossover arc thing. I think it's a really fun way to tie it back to that.
In all reality, the one I'm actually looking forward to is the next issue, which is Batman the Merciless, which basically it Batman looks like the God of War Ares. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to happen. Is Batman going to fight Wonder Woman and take the God of War power from her, or is basically he going to take the power from Ares, claiming that Wonder Woman is too dangerous to basically let live?
Yeah, I think that one's gonna be really cool too. I mean, they've all been really cool stories. And I think the most disappointing part is probably never gonna see these characters again, which I think is really upsetting. I'd love to see him again. I mean, give us a Batman story like 5 years from now where he has to fight them all by himself. I think that'd be really cool. Um, but yeah, so what do we got to talk about next?
Basically, we got Superman coming down the pipe, and I'll let you handle this one.
All right, so Superman 33, an issue I've been waiting quite a while for, actually. Um, we got kind of plagued by filler issues for the last couple months. Really good, solid stories of filler issues, but I'm just excited to get back into the main, the main Superman arc, the arc that's part of the overarching Superman arc. That sounds weird, but I think it's awesome. It's kind of something I've been waiting for since the end of Darkseid War, where Lex became the god of Apocalypse, or the king of Apocalypse. Um, it's kind of been a story I've been waiting for since then. Lex having to go to Apocalypse and like defend his throne, and it's really fun to see John and Lois on Apocalypse too. And Superman's going to be real mad that the only two people, not the only two people, but the two people in this world that like if you mess with, he'll kill. Um, Really fun to see them just like by themselves on Apocalypse, and it's gonna be a really fun story, I think. And even the opening before the Apocalypse happened, the interactions between Superman and Superman Lex Luthor was awesome. It was really funny, and Lex is still really arrogant, and he's there's a line where Lex goes, Metropolis just got to see the brave and the bold. And Superman goes, which one are you? And Lex is like, well, I'm both, of course. And it's stuff like that that like is keeping true to the Lex character, but we see a different aspect of him. And I'm kind of gonna be sad to see him go back to the dark side. But I think it'll be handled well, and I think that we're still gonna see some good guy Lex here and there. Even if he goes back to more of the regular status quo Lex. Nick, your thoughts on the issue?
Oh man. Well, actually, I'm kind of curious. With this Wonder Woman title and Darkseid basically regaining his power slowly, I'm actually kind of wondering if he'll come back to Apocalypse and basically say, "Lex Luthor, get out of my chair," or like something like that. Um, but it's pretty cool. I am gonna be sad when Lex turns his colors, but I think he's gonna become more of a necessary evil than like completely evil. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, real quick on that. If they don't incorporate the Dark Side storyline and Wonder Woman into Superman, DC really missed an opportunity. I think that's a really great way to show that this is a shared universe without, like, you don't necessarily have to read Wonder Woman. Darkseid can just come back to Apocalypse and start fighting, and I think that'll be really cool. And I kind of would like to see a Justice League title tie into this at some point, even though we know that's not going to happen because we know the next couple stories for Justice League and nothing similar happens. But I'd like a good old Darkseid versus the Justice League story again. Yeah, and I'm excited because I've never liked this Lex where like he wants to rule the world or like has some sort of like regime and like dictatorship on Metropolis and stuff. I always liked it where Lex is scared of Superman. He's scared of what this alien could do to his race. And I've always loved that aspect of Lex where like where he's not a villain at all. Like the only person he's a villain to is Superman. I've always loved that aspect of Lex, and I think we're gonna get somewhere similar with that. I mean, I could see he's gonna be really scared of Doctor Manhattan, and I think that's gonna be kind of Ozymandias. Well, I'm curious to see Ozymandias' influence on him, but we talk about Doomsday Clock so much. Let's take a little break from that for a while today. Nick, you want to lead the conversation about Batman 33 today?
Absolutely. Batman 33. So last issue we got the big reveal that Catwoman says yes to Batman, and this issue, you can see them both heading through a desert, with a horse with no name, mind you, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, they're heading to city of Kadim. So basically, I'm thinking that Catwoman has to prove her worth to Batman's first wife, technically, Talia, as we can see by the last page in this book. But I'll swing it over to Mike as he talks about the Bat family.
This may be my favorite scene in any of the Batman titles in Rebirth so far. It was so good. I love the Bat family. I love the Bat family much more than I love Batman. And like Damian obviously is one of my favorite characters in existence right now. Him and John. And what's so good about this scene is like we see the Bat family joking around and stuff. The only thing that's missing is Tim. And I would have liked to seen some references to Tim and stuff because Tim's back. So I don't know. It was missing Tim, and I've always thought it was weird that Jason is with the Bat family because he kills people. Um, he doesn't kill anybody anymore, but I just always thought it was a weird inclusion in the Bat family. But this scene is so good and it's divided up throughout the issue, broken up by like what's happening with Batman and Catwoman, and Alfred has to break the news to the Bat family that Batman's proposed to Selena Kyle and she's accepted. And Damian's really not happy about this. He's the first one to like verbally say something. Actually, side note, before I continue on that, there's a really funny joke in here where they're playing with Ace the Bat Hound, and somebody says, at least, and Dick says, well, at least it's not the cow. And Duke's like, wait, there's a cow? And then they're like, I guess we're gonna have to show him the cow, and it's hilarious. Because all these pets are pretty much Damian's at this point. And I don't know why he loves pets so much. But anyway, so then Alfred gets a call from Superman. Some big problems happening in Kadim. and he wants to know why Batman is not answering his call. And Alfred's like, oh, he got infected with the Scarecrow virus. And then Damian's like, I know why he's in Kadeem. And he starts crying. And Dick's like, oh no, he's crying. We're all dead. It's awesome because Damian doesn't cry. But then we find out that Damian's like, that's where she is. That's where my mother's hiding. And then it reveals that, oh yeah, Al Ghul's there. And I think this is going to be an awesome story. And I don't really know why Batman cares. I don't know why. Like, Batman, I don't think ever, like, acknowledged they were married or anything. He's like, you probably. I'm confused why he's taking Catwoman there, but I think it's going to be awesome. I want to watch Catwoman and Al Ghul fight. And I actually just want to watch. I want to watch the Bat family fight Ra's al Ghul again. I want the Justice League to appear in this issue. I want a Justice League crossover with this issue. This issue was really good, and just seeing the Bat family. And the Bat family doesn't really make appearances in the core Batman series. I mean, they're in like Detective and other stuff, like the Batman title. We don't see the Bat family very often, and King really pulled off writing these characters and capturing each one's individual personalities. And like even with Duke too, one of the newer characters getting his own series soon was really fun to see. Anything else on this issue?
Not really. Basically we got most of it. I have to say though, I do want to see what happens in this issue. It's just I just want to know how this is going to work because you know divorce kind of works differently in comics, unfortunately. But it's I am looking forward to Selena Kyle fighting Talia al Ghul, basically for Batman, in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, naturally, Batman and Catwoman are not actually going to get married. It won't happen. Um, like, I mean, they wouldn't even let Spider-Man be married to Mary Jane anymore, so they had a Mephisto erasing marriage thing. Marriage in comics don't work unless you're Superman and Lois Lane. That's the only time you're allowed to be married as a comic book character. So I'm curious to see the explanation on why they don't end up getting married and that kind of stuff. This story is actually shaping up to be a lot better than what I anticipated. Because I'm not a huge Batman fan, but I'm actually all in for this Rules of Engagement storyline. So now over to Nick for some Marvel stuff. Talk about the latest issue of Venom.
All right, so Venom 156. Basically, at last issue, you got to see a panel of Kraven. He's going to take up the hunt to take out Venom. So basically, he has to get bait. So he goes in the sewers to this dinosaur type people and basically wounds one of them. And the dinosaur person goes into Venom's apartment and basically lures him into a trap. Like an unintentional trap, but still a trap. Um, Basically, then Kraven shows up and attacks Venom using bear traps and armor-piercing rounds and probably elephant rounds and all sorts of different stuff. But it leaves Venom at the end of this issue like all beat up, bloody, enough to actually go to a hospital. But it ends where basically Venom's like basically falling apart. He's like, "I need help" or something like that. I am curious where this is going to lead. I'm kind of curious how Venom is going to stop Raven, who's had a lot of experience dealing with Spider-Man. Well, in reality, if you think about it, like Venom is basically Spider-Man, just a little more beefed up and a little more, I'd say, a little crazier because he's got two minds in his head. But I'm curious how Venom is going to defeat Kraven, who's fought Spider-Man all these years. Your thoughts?
Yeah, as I said, when issue 155 came out, the idea of Kraven hunting Venom is actually really cool to me. It makes sense. I mean, Venom's definitely more powerful than Spider-Man. I mean, we've seen it before where Spider-Man's never been able to get the upper hand on Venom, and it's always had to rely on some sort of trick or something in order to beat Venom. So the idea that Kraven would want to hunt Venom is really interesting. I mean, back in the day, I think it'd be really cool, like Kraven wants to wear the symbiote or something like that. But I don't think that'll happen anymore because the symbiote's infatuated and in love with Eddie Brock at this point. So like I don't think we're ever going to see the Venom symbiote on anybody else anymore. Well, for a long time. But I think it's kind of cool. I mean, if we've learned that Craven like learned about symbiotes and like this is some new species that he's never hunted before, I think that's a really cool story. And it's just fun to see Eddie Brock back as Venom again, as I keep saying. But and seeing Craven back as a villain again, really showing that Marvel's trying to get back to their legacy.
Okay, now to some other titles of the week. We got basically Batman. The Red Death came out with a second print. This cover is basically the less intense version of the original cover without the shininess. We got Deadpool versus Old Man Logan #1. We got Green Arrow #33. We got the Incredible Hulk 709, which basically takes Amadeus Cho back to the planet of Sakaar. We got Invincible Iron Man number 593, which basically the search for Tony Stark starts as basically somebody comes out of the cryo tube, which I'm assuming is Tony Stark, because he puts on an old version of his armor back on, which forces Ricky and Victor Von Doom to basically work together to find Tony Stark. Mighty Thor number 700, which focuses on what is to come in Thor. Basically, Jane Foster's time is running out because of her harrowing, and we get to see some of the other characters and how hammers have affected them in the different universes where all the Thors are. And basically, an old enemy known as the Mangog or whatever it is comes back to fight all the Thors. So, and supposedly Jane Foster's supposed to die in this arc, but I honestly don't know because I'm going by my morals saying dead is not dead enough. And then we got Titans number 16, which basically it is going to start the next part of this story. We got Green Lanterns number 33, which was kind of some comic relief that we needed. We got Justice League number 31, which finishes the legacy story of the future selves coming back to the past and trying to warn the Justice League. Basically, they fight and they defeat this darkness with cooler heads. Actually, the one who beat the darkness was Jessica and Barry's Lantern kids, basically turning into compassion, which basically cooled their anger to the point of nothing. We got Star Wars Poe Dameron number 20, and I'll bring it over to Mike as he talks about Super Sons and Captain Phasma.
All right, so the conclusion to the Captain Phasma Road to the Last Jedi story came out today, issue 4. This Captain Phasma story has been really, really good so far. I've said it before, Captain Phasma was kind of a letdown in The Force Awakens, and I feel like this 4-issue arcs really helped redeem this character. And basically, the very end of the issue, the last page, pretty much is setting us up to right where The Last Jedi begins. We see Captain Phasma talk to General Hux, which I can assume is like the next 5 seconds are going to be right where The Last Jedi picks up. Had a really great story. Really lets us see the character of Captain Phasma. And Star Wars has just been knocking it out of the park with all of their series so far, and I'm really looking forward to the Storms of Crate, which is going to be the next Last Jedi kind of prelude issue. Really excited for that issue. And so then Super Sons number 9. Super Sons is like one of my top Rebirth titles. It was a real big surprise for me. Love reading it every week. The only complaint I have with Super Sons in general is the stakes never feel high enough. It never feels like these stories impact the DC universe at all, like other titles do, which makes sense because they are just kids. But with issue 9, we're seeing the conclusion to the Planet of the Capes storyline, and again, it's just the dialogue is so smooth. Tomasi is like the only guy that's ever written these two characters for long periods of time, so he really knows the characters, and he really can get just the dialogue to feel natural and make it feel like these characters have been around since the 60s. These characters are brand new, but they feel like they've been around forever.
All right, so we're gonna go to New York Comic Con, which basically happened last week, 2 weeks ago. Sorry. Anyway, I'm gonna bring it to Mike as he talks about the big reveal of the Doomsday Clock.
All right. Preface this by saying spoilers for the first 6 pages of Doomsday Clock. Huge reveal. So if you're waiting until the issue comes out, which I wish I would have done, but I don't have that kind of self-control. Anyway, you've been warned. The first 6 pages of Doomsday Clock, they show it opens up by stating it's November 22nd, 1992. So this is basically like 7 years after the events of Watchmen, and the world's in chaos. Everybody hates Adrian Veidt. It's been revealed to the world about what he did. The scenarios on how all this unfolded, we're not quite sure yet. But he's the most Adrian Veidt is the most wanted man in the entire world. Then we go to a prison, and this guy grabs this guard, and he wants free. He's trying to grab the keys and stuff, and then this guy gets killed, and you hear, and the dialogue shows up, and it's like, do you still want out? And the guy's like, no, man, no, I'm good, I'm good. And then it turns around and it shows Rorschach, which is a huge reveal because at the end of Watchmen, Rorschach was killed by Dr. Manhattan. And basically, we kind of get the idea that, unlike what I've been saying, Doomsday Clock is kind of going to be a direct sequel to Watchmen. It's really exciting. We see Rorschach back, and that's really all we got from these first 6 pages. But like, it was like a heavy first 6 pages, and like each panel means something. So Nick, your thoughts on Rorschach comeback?
Oh man, Rorschach coming back. That's pretty awesome. He like, I want to know, like, is this a different universe? Like, did Doctor Manhattan not kill Rorschach? Did he just go to the world and tell them, or is this basically, or does he just reappear? Like, was he just teleported somewhere else and then he came back? Like, what's your theory behind this?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's so many theories that I've seen. I'm wondering if like I'm I'm guessing that this world that we've seen at the beginning of this story, I'm guessing it's not the same as the regular DC universe. Um, so I'm wondering if Doctor Manhattan made another planet, and he's just like, I wonder what happens if I didn't kill Rorschach. Let's see how that story unfolds. I mean, I wonder if the story is going to be the fact that Doctor Manhattan created the DC universe, or if it's just he's been pulling strings, or what? Maybe he's just curious the fact that like there's a world of superheroes where like they're actually like compassionate and stuff. I mean, there's so many theories that I don't have time to get into. Some like I have like 15 different theories and stuff on all of this, but it's really exciting. I mean, Jeff Johns is going to have quite the task of writing these characters again. It was one thing with just Doctor Manhattan, but now that we've got Rorschach involved, he's got a lot of work to do in selling this to us readers. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's exciting. We say it all the time. Like Doomsday Clock is like one of those anticipated like comic events that I've ever been around for. I mean, it's probably going to be as crazy as the Death of Superman. Um, but yeah, I mean, Nick, what are your theories?
Oh man, I honestly don't know. Like, in all reality, I've seen so many theories and so many ways of doing stuff that basically anything could happen. Like, you bring back somebody from the dead, okay, but it could happen anyway. It's like with Marvel's example, the Infinity Gauntlet. You take out half of the world's populace and then they just come back. It's with this, I think basically Dr. Manhattan basically, like, I say zapped Rorschach elsewhere and just kind of, let him kind of fizzle down. And then basically he had to put something in his spot to make it believable, And then maybe Rorschach like calmed down and
Is in Mr.
yeah, definitely. See, that's another thing I'm wondering at the end of Lonely Place of Living. Is is Tim Drake going to find Rorschach inside the prison? Like, what else is in there? Like, you know?
Yeah, I'm actually curious where that Lonely Place of Living story is going, because like the last issue made it seem like the Oz prison story is done, and now we're just having evil Tim Drake Batman wanting to fight the team that Tim Drake and Batman orchestrated. So I mean, there's a lot more to this Mr. Oz story, and I really hope that the prison thing is not ending there. But I'm kind of scared that it is. So we've also seen the next couple covers for Watchmen, or not for Watchmen. Oh my, for Doomsday Clock. um, we see the cover for issue 3. The variant cover is going to feature Batman reading Rorschach's journal, and we've talked about this image a couple times. It was just now released that it's going to be the cover. This we've talked about our thoughts on Batman reading Rorschach's journal. It's exciting. Issue 4's variant cover features the Joker using a nostalgia cosmetics line mirror, which is Adrian Veidt's company. His cosmetic line's nostalgia. Shows the Joker using this mirror and applying lipstick to himself. And like the Joker's going to be in this story. Like the fact that this story is going to feature like villains in it too is crazy. And I wonder if Jeff Johns going to start answering some of our questions about the multiple Jokers.
Definitely. There are 3 Jokers in the DC universe. It has been confirmed. But I'm thinking this Joker is going to be like the first Joker, the one that has plagued Batman from the very beginning, not these 2 other ones that are basically different people. I feel like this Joker is going to be more, I'm gonna say more like focused and more bent on like messing with Batman. I feel like this Joker is going to have more the feel of the Killing Joke Joker. Do you know what I mean? That Mike?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that, but I actually just thought of something else for that. So if we look back to the Superman Reborn story, we took New 52 Superman and we took post New 52 Superman and we combined them into one character. I wonder if that's going to be a similar thing with the Joker. And even as you mentioned earlier, there's technically another Superman, like the 10-year gap Superman, also missing. So I wonder if there's a third Superman to combine with these other two. So that brings another thing with the Joker. I wonder if, yeah, there's 3 Jokers and that's what was revealed to Batman. But I wonder if throughout this story, with Dr. Manhattan meddling and stuff, Joker got separated into 3, and we're going to see a combination of these 3 characters.
Oof. With these 3 characters basically combining themselves, you might get a Joker that's even more dangerous than the 3 that we have right now. Like we've seen him shoot Jason Todd. We've seen him take out uh, Barbara Gordon. We've seen him pull Batman's family apart. Basically, we he's done all these dastardly things, but this Joker might be the worst out of all of them, which could mean trouble for God knows what.
All right, so time for our picks to start wrapping up this week's episode. We went over a little bit longer than usual today, but that's all right. Got some big stuff happening. Anyway, so we're going to change up our picks a little bit. In spirit of Doomsday Clock coming out in close to a month, we're going to start doing some Rebirth Doomsday Clock prep stuff. So first things first, I'm gonna do my pick of the week, and then I'll explain what we're placing the trade pick with for the next couple weeks. So first things first, my comic pick of the week has to be Batman 33. I can't believe I said that. But just that Bat family scene 100% sold me on what King can do with more characters than just Batman, and gets me excited for the next Batman arc with him with Superman and everything. I'm excited for that. But that Bat family story was really good, and it's gonna be kind of cool seeing Damian's views, Damian in particular, aside from the rest of the Bat family, being Damian's views on the situation of Talia and Catwoman, all that kind of stuff. Also, I think it's going to be really cool to see Tim Drake come back and be like, wait, this is what happened while I was gone? You got married and you talked to your dad? Like, I'm never leaving ever again because stuff goes crazy. So yeah, really great issue. Actually really excited for where the rest of this story is going. So what we're replacing the trade picks with this week is going to be for the next couple weeks, we're going to do rebirth picks. This week, we're going to pick our favorite title that's come out of Rebirth thus far. So my pick has to go Superman. I fell in love with the character of Superman mid New 52-ish. Basically when like everybody really hated Superman. But jumping into Rebirth, and I love Superman, and seeing this really classic take on this character, where he's this family man, and like you see him raising John, and he's with Lois, and just some of the interactions, and like seeing his relationship with Batman become a brotherhood again, and him being like a surrogate uncle to Damian. All these things adding up just really make Superman so good. Tomasi and Gleason just are phenomenal at writing these characters. And watching Superman become this great hero again, and watching DC really push this character forward, and let him be the flagship character of DC again is awesome. So now I'm going to send it over to Nick for his picks.
All right, so my pick for this week for comics has to be Cable number 150, which I wouldn't expect myself to pick up a Cable title for the life of me, but I looked at the cover and I saw this team. I'm like, okay. So I got intrigued. You have Cable, you have Longshot, Scattershot, you have X-23, you have in Armor and Dupe and Blink, which is an unlikely lineup. So I'm flipping through it and I'm like, oh, this doesn't look bad. It's got the artist from Thunderbolts that was running right before Secret Empire, and the the thing I liked about it was Dupe. He was great. Like, I don't know, he just felt like the comic relief of the comic. Basically, Dupe is a little green guy that can't speak English. He speaks in symbols, which nobody seems to understand in the real world. But he was just the comic relief. He was in a racing car, and it's like Cable's trying to talk to him, and you can see by the expressions it was just funny. And then you had the Black Queen Celine show up, and you had Dupe wanting to come for her. He actually hit her in the shoulder. Then, unfortunately, she blasted him. But it was just funny, all the facial expressions and stuff. Um, my rebirth pick of the week has to be Titans because I I used to be a Flash fan before all this went down, and I just Wally West to me wasn't my original Flash. I was always a Barry Allen fan. But seeing Wally West with the Titans was kind of cool because this Wally West is from the original timeline before it got jumbled up and messed up. It was a fun ride, and basically it reminded me of the old lineup from the 80s, but unfortunately it doesn't have all the members of the 80s. But I don't know, it's just something about this title drew me in, and I I still like it. Unfortunately, so far Wally West suffered the heart attack that was in the 80s and has apparently died at this point. But I have a feeling they'll bring him back somehow. But yeah, it's just this was probably one of my favorite titles out of Rebirth, honestly.
Yeah, so for the next couple weeks, we're replacing trade picks with these rebirth picks. I mean, obviously, we're not going to pick our favorite title every week. We got some other favorites that we're going to talk about for the next couple weeks. Just prepping for Doomsday Clock. Um, Hopefully, here soon we'll do a required reading pre-Doomsday Clock breakdown. What we think that you need to read to prepare yourself for that. That'll be in the future, closer to Doomsday Clock. So to end today, I'm just going to go over the events that are going on. So this Saturday on October 21st is Mount Aloysius College is having a charity convention. It's going to be from 10 to 5. Be really exciting. Different vendors there. Just support charity and maybe buy some comic books. Saturday the 28th is Halloween Comic Fest. As stated before, it's basically like the fall's version of Free Comic Book Day. So free comic books, so just some different free comic books for Halloween. I'm pretty sure they're doing a reprint free issue of the Batman Monster Men. So that'll be really fun. And then on Sunday, October 29th, the shop's going to be open from 12 to 4. Not typically open on Sundays, but it's going to be Ebensburg's Trick or Treat. There's going to be a parade in town that starts at 1, and there's going to be a holiday or Halloween costume contest all weekend at the shop. 2 age groups, 12 and under, and then another age group for 13 and up. So, all right, we'll see you back next week, and we'll keep talking about comics.